What's up, everyone? Welcome to Amped on Demand and today's edition of the Whiteboard Brief. Your warm-up is 3 rounds of 10 inchworms, 10 hollow rocks, 10 pass-throughs, 10 overhead squats, and 10 overhead lunges. The pass-throughs, overhead squats, and lunges all to be done with a dowel, a PVC, a broomstick, or a band.
For the inchworm, start standing tall, reach down to the ground stretching your hamstrings, and walk yourself out into high plank. Lower yourself down into a push-up, press yourself into downward dog, stretching your hamstrings again, and walk your hands back to your feet. This can also be done without the push-up. For the hollow rock, start in a hollow body position with your feet and shoulders off the ground, pressing your low back into the floor. Then rock back and forth, making sure you have a smooth transition from tailbone to mid-back. For the pass-through, hold the dowel with a really wide grip, keeping your arms straight. Bring the dowel from the front of your body to the back of your body, making sure you get movement in your shoulder blades. For the overhead squat, all the principles of an air squat apply, but we add holding a dowel overhead with our arms locked out, making sure our elbows are facing out and the bar stays over the middle of our body. Overhead lunges start with your feet under your hips and the bar in the same position as an overhead squat. Step back, lower one knee down to the ground, making sure you have a 90-degree bend in each one of your legs. Then drive through your back foot and bring your feet back together.
For today's workout, we have Tabata of 4 different movements with 1 minute of rest between each one of those movements. Tabata is 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off for 8 rounds. So you'll do movement 1, 20 on, 10 off, for 8 rounds, then you'll take a minute break, move on to movement 2, same format, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 1 minute break, then you'll do that for movement 3, and then you'll do the same thing for movement 4. Those movements are ground to overhead, cross body V-ups, Bulgarian split squats, and jumping rope. That ground to overhead can be done with whatever weight you have. It can be a one-handed ground to overhead or a two-handed ground to overhead. The jump rope can be double unders or single unders, and the Bulgarian split squat you can do unloaded or loaded. So you can hold a weight or 2 weights, or you can do it just body weight. If we don't have a jump rope today, your scaling is going to be lateral hops. Actually not easier than jumping rope, especially if you're gonna be doing singles or you're really good at doubles. I think lateral hops are a little bit more challenging. But for any of you that don't have a jump rope, that's a way for you to do the same workout without your rope.
Ground to overhead can be done either single or double arm. Single arm can be a snatch where you take the weight from ground to overhead in one smooth movement, or it can be a clean and jerk, clean and press, where you stop in the front rack position. In either case, make sure your back is flat and your knees are out the whole time. 2-arm ground to overhead is the same regardless of what kind of load you're using. Hips and shoulders are going to rise together. You'll get a violent hip extension followed by a shrug of the shoulders and a press of the weight to overhead. For alternating V-ups, start flat on your back. Reach your opposite hand to opposite foot as you bring your shoulders off the ground, trying to keep your legs straight and your toes pointed. Also called a rear foot elevated split squat, the Bulgarian split squat starts in a lunge position with 1 foot elevated on a platform behind you. Lower yourself down, trying to touch your knee to the floor, making sure your chest is up and your back is flat the entire time. Squeeze your butt as you stand. This can be done unloaded, loaded, or for a greater challenge, increase the height of the platform you're standing on. When you're jumping rope, keep your elbows close to your body and use your wrist to create momentum on the rope. For double unders, think about punching your feet into the floor and bouncing, kissing your heels off the ground. For single unders, it's the same thing except one rotation of the rope instead of two, and a slightly lighter jump. For lateral hops, jump side to side over an object, trying to stay light on your feet and kissing your heels off the floor.
Man, do I love a good Tabata workout. 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off for 8 rounds. It appears a little bit easier than it actually is when you're only getting half the amount of rest relative to the amount of work you're doing. That rest really starts to go by quickly, especially 10 seconds. That's really only enough time for a few breaths. One of the common mistakes with this kind of workout is going balls to the wall in the first 20 seconds of work. 10 seconds is not enough time to recover from a max effort 20-second work. So what ends up happening is you get a certain amount of work done in the first 20 seconds, then a little bit less in the second 20 seconds, a little bit less in the third, a little bit less in the fourth, and by the end, you're barely getting any work done in that 7th and 8th 20 seconds. So what I want you guys to do is approach this workout with a number of reps in mind that you think you can get done in 20 seconds and maintain that number of reps for an entire workout. So I might be able to get 10 ground to overheads done in 20 seconds, but I can't do that for 8 rounds. So I'll approach it with maybe 7 ground to overheads in the first round, and then try and repeat that for the second round. If it feels good, then go for 8 or 9 in the third round. If it feels bad, then drop it to 5. But you want to have your splits as far as number of reps in each round be very close together. You don't want a huge variance in how many reps you're getting from round 1 to round 8. Now make sure you guys remember you're doing all of one movement before moving on to the next. So you'll do all of your rounds of ground to overhead, then you'll do your 1 minute of rest, then you'll do all your rounds of the crossbody V-ups, then you'll get your 1 minute of rest, then you'll do all your rounds of Bulgarian split squats, you'll get your 1 minute of rest, and then you'll finish with all your rounds of jumping rope. This is one of those workouts where fatigue really starts to set in towards the end of the rounds of each movement. So say like round 6, 7, and 8 of your ground to overhead, you're really gonna be fatigued muscularly and your heart rate's gonna be really high. We really wanna not let form break down when we get fatigued. When we get tired, it's more common for our technique to break down, and we don't want to let that happen. We want to move well throughout the entire movement. If you can move well when you're fatigued, you can move great when you're fresh. For your cooldown, we have some nice easy mobility work. It's 2 rounds, 1 minute of each stretch. We have saddle stretch, pigeon pose, Spider-Man lunge, and scorpion stretch. That pigeon pose, Spider-Man, and scorpion are all 2-sided exercises, so make sure you get a minute on each side.
Saddle stretch, start on your knees, sit onto your heels, lower your back down to the ground. If you cannot lower your back to the ground, put something behind you and lower yourself onto that object. Hold that position and press your hips into the air to stretch your quads. For pigeon pose, start on all fours, swing both feet to the right, then drop your right foot straight back behind you. Press your hips towards the ground, keep your back straight. You can increase the stretch by lowering yourself down onto your elbows. For Spider-Man, take a big step forward, lower your knee down to the ground. Try and get your hips as close to the floor as possible. If you can, touch your inside elbow to the ground. For Scorpion, lie flat on your belly, bring one leg up and cross it over your body, twisting at your torso, trying to keep both shoulders flat on the ground. Well, this is definitely going to be a sweaty one. I hope you have a lot of fun with it.
really get after it today. You have that 10 seconds of rest, so this is one where you can really push that effort. If you want to work out with some of us from the gym, hop into one of our free live classes. The link is in our bio. Thanks for tuning in to Amped on Demand, and I'll see you next time.